Welcome to the flowerschool.com video library. I'm Leanne Kessler, Director of the Floral Design Institute, here to share with you our latest issue on advanced techniques for wiring and taping. Now, in the previous issue, we showed you the basic techniques, how to wire and tape a flower with a long calyx and a flower that might have a flat face, and how to do clutch taping as well. Today, we'll look at how do you wire and tape a more fragile blossom, like an alstroemeria or a freesia or an orchid. The advanced techniques will take you one step further. To review, we covered how to put a wire through the flower and then how to tape. Now the wiring, that's the easy part. The harder part is the taping. So I just want to review briefly. When you're taping, you wrap it around, squish, get it packed together, and then pull and twist to get a nice, tight, and tidy stem. Now, to test yourself, to see if you're doing it correctly, tape a wire. I'm going to do this one incorrectly. See how many times I'm having to go around and round and round? That means I'm going without pulling. The other thing you can do then is after you're done, if you can pull it and get all this extra tape off of there, pull it, get all this extra tape, that means you're working too hard. You want to put it on tightly and then pull very tautly just to the edge of tearing, pulling and twisting so you cover a large surface area with each twist. And then to test yourself, try pulling it. You should have none come off. That would be perfect. So now it's your turn. Give it a shot. Can you tape it nice and tight, tidy, without any extra? When you want to wire a fragile blossom, something like the alstroemeria, you can pierce through the calyx, but it's so fragile that you're actually better off if you take your tape and just wrap lightly around the bloom, not tightly. I'm not really taping, I'm really just wrapping. Then once you've gone around twice, take your wire and pierce right through the tape and the blossom. And what you're doing is creating a cushion so that then when you start taping, your blossom won't break and fall apart. So let's look at that a second time here. If I do it with a freesia blossom, take the bloom off, don't need the green portion. It's too fragile to just pierce through. So then using the tape, wrapping lightly, very delicate, then taking a wire, piercing through, bending it down, and then taping tightly after you get that cushion in there, and then taping on down. One more time with an alstroemeria, just so you can see. Make sure you get a good close look. Again, starting with a little bit of tape, wrapping, taking the wire, piercing through, bend it down, and then tape tightly. Orchids are a little bit tricky. They're delicate, but not that fragile. But where do you wire? There's really nothing to work with. So you do a hairpin, but when I put this in, the wire is going to show in the throat. So a little trick is before you make your hairpin, take tape that matches. So this soft lavender matches the orchid. And just tape a very small spot right in the wire, then fold it. So you get that hairpin with the purple. If you don't have purple, sometimes I use white and that can disappear in there. Other times I just leave it bare if I can't match my orchid. But in the perfect world, you match it and then you feed it over the throat, being very careful not to pierce through any of the petals, and just feed it down through, letting it disappear inside. And then once it's in there, then you can reach in and tape it with your regular green tape and just tape round and round and round all the way down. Let's do that another time so that you can see. Again, taking a little bit of wire, taking the tape, just right at the very middle, folding it into a hairpin so that I've got a nice little U to go over, finding the bloom, and then gently feeding that down over the throat, and pulling it till it just disappears so that you can't see it down inside, especially with that wire matching the color. And then going back to your green and taping it to the stem of the blossom so that it's ready to use. Previously, I showed you how you could take a filler type item, like the seeded eucalyptus, and then using a wire, just clutch wrap it like it's a string, and then tape that to have a wired little cluster ready to go. But what if you want this cluster to hang and dangle gracefully? Well, then you don't want to use a wire. To do that, you're going to tape only. I know it's called wiring and taping, but this time it's just taping. And technically, it's called air taping. So you take your item, whatever you want to use. Maybe I'm going to put a little more with it. That's a kind of skimpy piece. So I can take a cluster, adding another little bit. And then instead of clutching it, I just start wrapping it with the tape and no wire. And just wrapping and then pulling and pulling as though there was a tape wire in there. But in reality, it's just the tape. So it gives me this nice, wonderful dangle as opposed to this one where it's upright with the wire in it. So let's do that again. So I've got a little bit of the seeded eucalyptus. And I just take and begin taping right around the stem and then pulling and twisting tautly so that it does bind itself to itself, creating the look of having a wire in there, but instead it's just a nice, wonderful, delicate drape. Once you have all your pieces ready, then you can begin the assembly, maybe putting the orchids up a little higher and together, maybe the one wired piece of seeded eucalyptus, and then tape that so that it's under control. It's not going to go anywhere. Then I don't need all these wires, so going back and clipping that out so it'll be a little more delicate. Then I can come in with the other materials, be it a bit of the alstroemeria, a freesia, more of the alstro, clustering it all together, and then going back. A little bit of the seeded eucalyptus up close, and then letting it trail so that it'll dangle, giving a little bit of movement to the finished design. And then once it's all in my fingers, just reaching in and taping it together very tight, right at the top, letting it hang upside down slightly so that the berries stay out of my way. Then once again, clipping out some of these wires. Don't need all of this. It adds bulk and weight. And just taping all the way to the bottom, making sure everything's covered over. Then I can go back, adjust, because they're all on a wire, so I can move them where I want them to be, just kind of shifting them around. Then roll the end up, give me a little pigtail. Then lastly, just taking a small bit of ribbon, giving it a knot, and tying it right on at the base to add a touch of color, little feminine softness right at the bottom of the bouquet. The simple act of taking tape and putting it on a wire to create an artificial stem is anything but simple. In the classroom, we start from the very first day of class, and then we work this technique in all different variations through the end of the advanced class. So it's something you're going to want to practice over and over and over again to get that muscle memory going and the finger strength going. You want to be able to do it with your right hand. You want to be able to do it with your left hand. So you can go back and forth and rest one hand and let the other one do the work and then switch. You're going, oh my goodness, I'm still trying to get the tape on a wire. And that's the first step. And then with practice, you become better and better and better. For more instruction, check out our website. There are so many wonderful how-to demonstrations to help you get started in the world of flowers. It's flowerschool.com. There's a video library, a flower library. If you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. You can reach us through the website at flowerschool.com or by telephone at 1-800-819-8089. If you've got a comment or a question that it's easier to get to us with email, don't hesitate to use my personal email. It's Leanne, Leanne, at floraldesigninstitute.com. I really do love to share and teach, so don't hesitate to contact us. But for now, it's time for you to get some tape, get some wires, and start practicing so that you too can become the floral professional and get that light, delicate, tiny stem on your flowers. Have fun and do something you love.